About 14 hours ago in the UK, the UK Landscape Photographer of the Year 2023 winners were announced. I'm in Slovenia in the middle of the mountains, so that meant that I had to look on my phone to see what was going on. And if I'm honest with you, I'm still not sure what any of the photos look like. This year I was lucky, I did quite well. I got a commended in the changing landscapes category, and the one I'm really pleased about is a highly commended in the coast category. Now, I didn't sleep very much last night because I was pondering a few things, and a couple of those I want to share with you today. So it's over to future me to unpack a few things. Future Louise here, clutching a copy of Collection 16, which features two of my images. Now, I'm fully aware that competitions aren't everyone's bag. Some people really thrive off the technical aspects and really trying to fulfill certain criteria, and others, well, they just want to be a little bit more free and creative. Actually, I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. Now, because I have just had some form of success in the UK Landscape Photographer of the Year, I will be using that as examples. But if I'm honest with you, I've entered other competitions and similar themes have arisen. This year, the UK Landscape Photographer of the Year had 17,000 entries, and they are saying double the amount of women entered than they did last year. They've got a number of new categories, which I think have enlivened the competition and brought a real sense of originality. And these three tips I think will actually transform your whole experience of entering competitions, and do you know what, perhaps make it a little bit less stressful and much more enjoyable. Now, first up, I think we need to acknowledge the winner of this year's competition, Mik Dogherty from the south of England, and his shot from the New Forest. It's entitled After the Fire and was taken after a large heath fire near Bewley. Mik originally entered this into the Change in the Landscape category, and for me the subtle colour palette along with the architectural skeletal trees are a superb combo. I actually find this quite an emotional shot. Tip number one, the thing that would have saved me the most time and heartache: get organised. Firstly, find the dates of all the competitions that you wish to enter. Stick them on the calendar. Do something that means, one, you're not going to forget them, but two, if there are any particular rules you need to follow, then actually you're not going to miss them. This is my example. The Scottish Landscape Photographer of the Year runs at a very different time to the UK Landscape Photographer of the Year. But in order for you to enter images, you need not to have done very well or been a winner of any form in another competition. So you need to check your dates really carefully. If you've fallen in love with one particular shot, what you don't want to do is enter it for a competition and then find that it precludes you from going into another competition because, well, you've done really well at the first one, but you had your heart set on the second one. As part of the organisation, for goodness sake, research the rules. For example, in the Landscape Photographer of the Year, your photos have to be taken within the last 5 years. In recent years, there have been changes to the rules in the Scottish Landscape Photographer of the Year, which now preclude ND grads from being used. Little things, little changes to the rules can mean a very big difference to your success rate. There are also limits on processing. So in some categories, you'll find you're allowed a little bit more flexibility than in other categories. Be very careful. Do not let one cloning incident mean that you are not successful in a competition. If you have shots that you know you want to enter, even if they're from 4 or 5 years ago, for goodness sake, get organised as soon as you take them. As soon as you have a shot that you believe is one that you might want to enter for a competition, please just do yourself a favour. Create a folder on your computer, put it in there, label it competitions, so at least you know you've got a copy of the raw and the edited ready to go. Because the UK Landscape Photographer of the Year, they want to have raws even if you're just shortlisted. The Scottish Landscape Photographer of the Year, which a couple of years ago I had some success at, they didn't ask for any copies of the raws. Now that may have changed since. Genuinely trying to find raws and remembering your details of what on earth you did to edit 5 years ago is hell. For context, I entered 20 shots in the UK Landscape Photographer of the Year 2023. It took me one whole day to resize them, locate the raws and the JPEGs, remember all my edits and do all the uploads, because you have a lot of information that you've got to give. The EXIF data, the editing information, the title and a description. does take its time.
Now this year, to make things smoother, I decided to do things on a Word document, which meant when the system went down, I didn't lose everything. Essentially everything I'd need except the EXIF data was in one place. And that's what goes in the book, so be accurate.
Tip number 2, think outside the box. Now, with some of these new categories in particular, people have been really innovative. I'm thinking there's one about my railway journeys. The winner has 2 people looking out the window along with a dog, but others have interpreted it very, very differently. Changing landscapes, the category that I got a commended in, was a particular interest because it was so new, people were interpreting it in very different ways. Now, in previous years, I made assumptions that the big winners were always going to have hero shots, those magnificent vistas with lighting that was beautiful and just really encapsulated the heart of what I presumed judges would be looking for. With the Landscape Photographer of the Year in particular, they've gone for some very different styles images. Some of them have been quite intimate, some of them have been really quite unexpected. And this year, with ICM and drone being part of the equation, it really has opened up a new world. Get creative, think outside the box. Tip number 3 is something that I and my photo buddy Ben are very guilty of. Don't try and preempt what the judges are going to be looking for. Judges change. This year there were 27 and they ranged from household names such as Charlie Waite to Ray Mears and others less well known but equally inspirational, whether it's curators of museums, photographers. They also had a couple of geographers and technical experts in there as well. Yes, there is some continuity with previous years, but there's also some fresh faces to bring a little bit of frisson of excitement and the unknown. Trying to second guess what 27 people are looking for is nigh on madness. Now this year I think I've noticed that there is much more of an emotional element than I have seen in previous years. It might be because I'm seeing more intimate shots coming along and much more unusual shots, which I think really do draw on the emotional elements a little bit more than perhaps the big hero shots do. Something that I've noticed, whether or not it was in this competition or the Scottish Landscape Photographer of the Year, or even when I've been published in magazines, sometimes a wild card has been peculiarly successful. And I'm going to be honest with you, there have been times when I've looked at something and thought, why did they choose that one of mine? I think something that is really important to note though, success in social media does not immediately translate into success in competitions. Again, trying to anticipate what 27 people are wanting to see is going to be hiding to nothing. And last year, one category winner noted to me that they had entered exactly the same photo the previous year and it didn't even get shortlisted. Where's the logic? But perhaps that's the beauty of it. Maybe we shouldn't be looking for logic. Those 3 tips, had I known them a few years ago, would have made my life quite a bit easier when I was thinking about entering photo competitions. Before I go, there's one thing I do want to let you know. With the Landscape Photographer of the Year, the judging is blind. When you enter your photographs, you get an ID number. A new, fresh ID number is given to the judges, so they have no idea who they are voting for. Now, I find that really quite reassuring, because what that means is amateurs like me actually stand a chance against some of those really big names and professionals that are out there. Thank you for joining me today. And I'd like to say a really big well done to anybody who has entered a competition in this last year, irrespective of where you've come. I think it takes guts to put yourself out there. I'm not very good at doing that. Maybe I'll do it a bit more following this year. Take care.
We're now going to move straight into commended with Fiona Campbell, commended, Stuart Bennett, commended, Adam Burton, commended, and Sean Mills, commended, and highly commended, Lilac Evening, and highly commended, Louise Welcome, and highly commended again, Jamie Fielding, and the winner is
Second, twice, mate.
Daniel Ruffles.
Two.